Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. Today is Tuesday, April 21st, and this is episode 72. Sorry, I had my show notes blocked for a second there. And today is going to be a parade of socks and yarn. So I hope you are ready for a parade of socks and yarn. If you're not, you might want to skip this one. Anyway, let's see, below the Conch, I went to YarnCon this weekend on Saturday, which was really fun. It was quite the trek to get there on the train. I think they made it more convenient for people with cars, not so convenient for people who don't have a car. My husband was working, so he had the car, so I took the train, which was not too inconvenient. It wasn't too bad. It was just, there's a lot of transfers from where I live to where YarnCon is, but that's okay. I survived. It was freezing cold. I did not prepare for that, because there was another fiber event I went to, and I wanted to wear a hand-knit sweater, but then I was just way too warm the whole day, and I was like, I don't want to carry around a sweater, so I just wore like my trench coat over like a t-shirt with a shawl, and I was like frozen as a popsicle, and it was so cold outside. Inside it was fine. It was a little chilly when they opened the doors to kind of get some airflow through the hall, but other than that, it was quite nice. So, enough about the temperature of the whole event. You guys don't care about that. You just want to know where I went and what I bought. So, I think I'll do that a little later. First, we'll do the On the Island, the Parade of Socks. We'll do that first. And then we'll do the YarnCon, I guess, recap kind of stuff a little later. So, on the island, I have a parade of socks, as I said. I decided this week to cast on a new pair of socks every day, because I had just finished a ton of things and I had hardly anything on the needles, and I needed things that I could take with me because I had a lot of meetings and often I knit during lunch while playing games or whatever, and I had nothing that I could take with me. So I cast on a slew of socks. And it's odd because most of these socks got knit not at home. So you can tell I had a lot of meetings because I got a lot of progress. So last Sunday, I cast on these socks out of my Where's Waldo bag from Cozy Crafting. And I cast on my Where's Wenda socks. Ta-da! So, Sunday, I got to here. That's where the marker is. And then this past Sunday, I had another all-day meeting. And actually, the last Sunday wasn't all day. It was just like a half day. And this was all day. So I went from here up, and I turned both heels. And got just past, I just finished that white stripe. Sorry, I'm sitting a little farther away from the camera today. So I have to move things a little closer. You can see I just finished that white stripe. I'm right at the awkward point that's really hard to show you what's going on. But I just finished that white stripe, just started the red stripe, and then I changed to a different pair of socks. So these are coming along very quickly. They're my second pair of stockinette socks. Not the most exciting, but great for meetings because I don't have to pay attention at all. So everyone was very intrigued about my Waldo socks and my Waldo bag. I found all the Waldo fans that day, I can tell you that, because I had my bag just kind of on the floor in front of me and I was just pulling yarn out and knitting. And we were all sitting in a big circle so everyone could see everyone. So they were all very intrigued by this. And someone, one of my coworkers who was there said, when you're done with those, come show them to me. So I said, okay. And then I'll wear them to choir and I'll show you. So those are done, or the heels are done rather. That was kind of my goal for a lot of these socks, was get past the heel. So that was my Sunday socks. And then Monday I cast on Oh, that yarn, sorry, is Stray Cat yarn. She's on Etsy. She's out of New Zealand. And that was a kind of a custom dye for me. She does that colorway during Christmas time, and it's called Candy Cane. And I asked her to do it for Where's Waldo, so she called it Where's Wally. So if you want her to dye it for you, she will, but it was a slightly custom. Out of season, I guess, would be the more appropriate term. And then Monday, I cast on the Come Along Pond socks by CC Almon out of Skeindalous Bettie sock in Come Along Pond. So these are the Come Along Pond socks. And I just finished the toe, and I think I did one row of the chart. So they are very, very beginning. But those will get some more love this week. I didn't take these with me for meetings, as you can tell. This is basically what I got done during lunch that day, because it does require a chart and I have to look at it. And once I get the hang of it, I'll probably be fine, but it's kind of hard to pay attention in a meeting and knit from a chart. It's kind of like, it looks like I'm not paying attention because I'm generally not paying attention. So I'd like to take more basic socks to meetings. So this one hasn't gotten a whole lot of attention, but it may this week. It should this week. So that is in my fat squirrel bag. Ta-da. And yeah, so that was Monday socks. Tuesday, I cast on my homespun house bag. Thought I'd show off all the bags. They kind of go with things. The Come Along Pond socks, I didn't have a smaller Doctor Who bag, so they got birds. There's an episode called Amy's Choice where there's tweeting birds that make them fall asleep. If you know the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it has to do with birds. It's really hard to explain. All right, so Tuesday I cast on Autumn Fires by La Maison de Saba, and this is out of Nippic Stroll Tonal in spring. And as you can see, these have just been started. I just got through a few rows of the chart here, and it looks like candle flames, which also kind of look like leaves to me. And these are going to be socks for my mom. So, ta-da! I don't think my mom watches, but if you do, these are your socks, Mom. I told her she was getting another pair of socks. They're coming to visit in end of June, early July. So, my goal is to have these done by then. I don't think I'll have any problems with that. So, those are those, and they match my bag, the green and the green. So, ta-da! So those are the two that just have the toes. Wednesday, I cast on and finished two little gnomes. They were probably about, the dude gnome was a little fatter, taller. I don't know. They were about this tall. For the Mini Mochi Land? Mochi Land. That's it. Mochi Land. Gnome Ambassador cow, and I delivered those at YarnCon. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen some pictures of little gnome ambassadors that went with me. Took a picture of them with my bag on the train, or waiting for the train, and then I took a picture at a couple different booths. I think I've only posted one, so I'll post another one, but yes, so those got delivered, and so I don't have them to show you. That's the only thing that said sale this week, but so I said sale in the middle of On the Island, but those are the things that got done. They probably took me about an hour and a half each, I'm guessing. Yeah, the only thing I modified was I did them in the round. The pattern was Traveling Gnome by Rainer Galatli? I don't know how you pronounce that, I'm sorry. And I just did them out of sock yarn scraps that I had around. And the pattern's knit flat, and then you seam it. I just did it in the round, all in one piece. So that made it a little faster. and kind of stuffed it as I went, and then embroidered the little faces and put a beard on the dude and some hair that looks kind of funky, but whatever, on the lady. And she has a sparkly hat. I don't know if you can see it in the pictures, but that's some sparkly hat yarn. Okay, Thursday, I cast on the Weasley Homestead by Lueder out of Gnome Acres House Gnome in Ginny Weasley. So, if you remember, I bought this yarn at Stitches to make socks for my Ginny Weasley costume. So appropriately, I picked a Weasley pattern, the Weasley Homestead. And it's a very simple pattern. Ta-da! And these also got past the heel. I worked on these, so let's see. Thursday, I got up to the yellow marker here. And then on that all-day meeting Sunday, I went from here to here. I did the Wenda socks in the morning, and then after lunch I switched to these. So I got from here to here. And then yesterday I took them to work, and I got a little bit further. And then I had a gathering last night that I went to and turned the heels. And then I did a few rows this morning just to get a little bit past the heel. So they're probably about the same point as the Wenda socks. So just past the heel. Ta-da! So these are knitting up quite nicely. That's you can see more of the colors there. And I'm doing that in my Silver Shed USA music bag. I have choir on Thursday nights, so I like to take this bag to choir because I think it's funny. And green polka dots inside. I think I showed all these bags last week, but now you can see what I put in them. Last week they were all empty. This week, most of them have stuff in them. So this week I plan on working on those socks, as well as casting on some new things. Shawls. This week is going to be shawls. Or maybe this week I don't know, I'll figure it out. But the next thing that's going to be cast on en masse is shawls. So I have one more pair of socks I need to cast on. Actually two, but I need to finish these. Because all my sock needles are being used, except for one, which I can't find, so I have to look through my stuff. Alright, so Friday, I cast on these socks, which are these are the pinstripe socks by Julius Swart out of Leadingman Fiber Arts Callback, which is a sport weight base in Apacolypse. These are very similar to the Atlantic Current socks, if you've knit those. And these are what I took to YarnCon, so I got a good amount of them done on the train there and on the train back. I did the heel. I got a little, it was interesting because I cast these on Friday morning on the train on the way to work, and they're sport weight, so I had to kind of try them on as I went to figure out how many stitches, and I think I have 48. I want to say that's what I have. And I put the gusset in a little sooner than I should have, so you can see that the gusset's way down here and the heel's way up here, whereas the gusset should probably be around here. But I was on the train and I couldn't really try them on, and I was like, and I kind of held them up against my shoe, and I'm like, I think I need to start the gusset. So I just added, I think, what is it? 6 stitches, whereas normally I'll add more like 10 for the gusset. I don't remember. Anyway, if you buy my sock pattern, which will be coming out very soon, I promise. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I talk more, or I wrote out what I do for the gusset and heel and everything. So these are just past the heels. These are flying along because they're out of sport weight. And these were really fun to have at YarnCon because I hung out at the Leadingman Fiber Arts booth quite a bit, which I'll talk about in a little while. And people were wondering, like, what does this color look like knit up? And I was like, here, this is what it looks like. So that was really fun to show people. And those are in my Yarn Pop bag. So I'm actually going to put these in it just to kind of keep them contained because they keep flying around. And those I'm doing on size 1.5, which is a slightly odd needle size for me for socks. But since it's sport weight and I'm using all my 1s and my size 0s on other socks, I use the 1.5. So, and I'm liking the density of the fabric. So, there's my parade of socks. I hope you all enjoyed that. That concludes the On the Island section, and the set sail section ended up in the middle of there. All right, where are we at? From the mainland, I got a bunch of stuff at YarnCon. So, let me talk about YarnCon for a little bit. And so I went on Saturday. Oh, sorry, I'm sitting on my foot and it's falling asleep. Okay, there we go. That's better. So I went out on Saturday and I hung out at the Leading Men Fiber Arts booth for a little bit because they were selling my designs. And so I took my samples down of my hat, mitts, and cowl, and so they could have them at the booth for display. And so that was my first stop, and I also stopped there periodically throughout the day. I hung out there for quite a while later on in the day and was able to answer questions about the yarn and also about my patterns and the other patterns. That was kind of fun. Get to be some booth bait. Hello. Although it's mostly women. I feel like when I go to Gen Con, I'm more booth bait because it's mostly guys. So... but I was hanging out at the booth with the guys. I think they were the only booth that had all guys. There were some other ones where, like, the husband of their wife was vending and they were there helping out. So that was kind of nice to see. And I don't know if I could probably, if I was vending, maybe my husband would come along. I don't think I could drag him along just for normal sake, but you never know. Maybe one day he'll come along. So that was there, and then I hung out at the Bijou Basin booth for a little while because Stephanie, who works for Stitchcraft Marketing, who I've been in contact with about a variety of different things, including like the needles that I reviewed a little while ago and some other things that I reviewed. And she's also the one who told me about the Gnome knit along, and I had never met her in person. She lives in Chicago. I never met her. So I went and hung out with her for a little bit, which was really fun. I don't know if you watched the podcast, Stephanie, but hello. And so that was fun to meet her in person. And I bought some Bijou Basin while I was there, so I'll show this. I'll kind of go throughout my day. And I've been really intrigued by their yak bamboo blend, and so that was on my list of things to get. So I got some, and it's called the Lhasa Wilderness is what the base is named. There we go, Lhasa Wilderness. And as you can see, it is 75% yak down and 25% bamboo. And it is very soft. And this is the colorway Sky, I learned, which is kind of funny because it's the same colorway that I bought in the yak merino that I bought at Stitches. So it's kind of funny that I was drawn to the same colors, but you know, it is what it is. And then I got some, I forget what this one is called, but it's like a natural, it's what like a natural sheep color would be. I don't think this is a natural yak color. Yaks are brown. So I don't know how they did this, but maybe yaks, no, I'm pretty sure yaks are like brown. In my head, yaks are brown. I'll have to go look that up. Anyway, I got these to be a 2-color something or other, and I was thinking of what they would be. I was wanting to do Po Mai Kai by Mel of the With Mel blog and podcast, and she used to be Single-Headed Knits. She did this beautiful striped triangular shawl, so I was like, oh, I want to do that. But I don't have enough yardage, so I don't know if I'm going to get more and do that, or make this into something else. But I really love these colors, and I really love that shawl, and I think these would be really pretty in that shawl. So I don't know, maybe I'll make it smaller or get more yarn. I'll probably just get more yarn. We'll see. Anyway, I think these are going to be Pomaikai. All right, and the other thing I got, where did it go? Here it is they had some Tibetan Dream, which is 85% yak down, 50% nylon. And they had some colorways dyed by Miss Babs. And let me tell you, it feels like a cloud, and the colors are amazing. So there's this, here's, I think my favorite part is this blue and purple, and there's greens. And this is dyed in a way that only Miss Babs can do. And it is a Tibetan Dream. Ta-da! So I am very excited about this. I have no idea. This was definitely an impulse buy. That one, this I was planning on getting. I didn't know what color or how much, but I definitely wanted to get this. This was totally an impulse buy. And I'm very happy with it. So we'll see. I may just like hoard this for a long time and cuddle with it and then decide what it's going to be. At first I wanted it to be socks, and then I'm thinking, no, I kind of want that like next to my skin up here. So we'll see what this ends up being, but I think that I'm happy with this impulse buy. But I'm definitely going to hoard it for a little while. All right, so that was the Bijou Basin booth. And then I just kind of walked around, and I had a list of either booths I wanted to visit or specific projects that I wanted to buy things for. And so throughout the day, I was kind of just, looking around, and because I kind of made my morning rounds and kind of scoped everything out. And then I hung out at the Leading Men Fiber Arts booth. And then I made another round later on, bought some more stuff, hung out at the Leading Men Fiber Arts booth. You see a trend here? And I hung out with some other people who were near there, so I'll talk about that in a bit. But while we're talking about Leading Men Fiber Arts, I'll show you what I got at their booth. Let's see if I can find everything. All right, so I saw this skein in the morning, and I was like, oh, I like that. And then later on, after lunchtime, I went back, and I was like, is there still one? They had a few, and I was like, oh, I'm going to buy a few. And then there's only one left. I was like, mine. And it's a director's interpretation. It's in their Showstopper base, which is the Superwash Merino Nylon. And director's interpretation means that it wasn't exactly what they were trying for, and but it's still pretty. So I got that, and then I got some dippin' sauce to go with it, to be a 2-color something or other. I've learned that if I'm going to do large shawls, I need to get 2 colors, because I have a lot of 2-color shawls in my queue and in my favorites, and so I got these to go together. Because I've been wanting to try this, and most of the time it turns out very mustardy, and I do not look good in mustard. It's a very fall color, and I am definitely a summer. So they had a little lighter version of it, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to put it with this. It's not quite the yellow that's in here, but to me it goes for some odd reason. So I found a shawl that I like the idea of. I may change the stitch pattern just a little bit, but it's like stripes and then kind of lacy toward the edge. So that's going to be a 2-colored shawl of some sort. And I also picked up some Man of Mystery and Callback, which is their sport weight, which is like an over-dyed teal. It's absolutely stunning. And this is going to be socks for my grandfather. Because, as I said, my parents are coming through in late June, early July on the way to Prague to visit my grandparents. And so I wanted to knit socks for my grandparents for them to take with them. So this has to also be done by the time my parents get here. And the other thing that I was gifted by Steve and Andy was a skein of Soliloquy in Glacial, and this is their 100% superwash BFL. And I have been eyeing this color forever, and I don't know why I've never gotten it until now. But this is going to be a new shawl design, they told me, because I was there with vending I kind of felt like I was vending, even though I wasn't, because they were selling my designs, but my designs were there being sold, which was really, really exciting. And so they said, pick something out for your next design. So I'd been kind of throwing around the idea of a big shawl. And so I got this, and it's 150 grams, so it's about 650 yards, so it's huge, as you can see. And I'm very excited. It's very sturdy, so I think it will hold its shape very well. And so I'm thinking, I kind of sketched something out yesterday for a design that kind of has some texture, and then I don't know if I'm going to do lace, like simple, very simple lace with texture, so that it really shows off the color, because it is a variegated. It's definitely not a tonal. And I mean, it's kind of, they're similar tones, but it's definitely variegated. So I want to do a shawl that's good for variegated, because I know we all buy variegated skeins because we think they're really, really pretty, and then we don't know what to do with them besides plain stockinette socks. So I'm going to design something out of that. I've got a tower going on the stool over here. I'm taking them out of the bag and kind of like towering them over there. So another booth was the, oh, wrong one. Jelby and Wool Pierogi were just kind of right across the corner from Leading in Fiber Arts. And so I spent some time in there. They had squishy floor mat, which I was very happy about. It was funny, I was talking with Jelby on Instagram. She's like, yep, definitely a purchase I will never regret. Oh yeah, squishy mat, save. The Leading in Fiber Arts, they had a stool. They were like, this was a good purchase. I was like, yes, stool, any way to sit down or a squishy mat to stand on, it's the way to go. I learned at Gen Con. Squishy mats and stools, excellent. So I, of course, was hanging out at Jelby and Wool Pierogi, who are two very lovely ladies, and they make absolutely gorgeous stuff. Wool Pierogi makes spinning fiber, so I'm not a spinner, but I admired her things. So I got these little stitch markers. They're little wool felted balls with sheep on them. Aren't they just so cute? The cutest things. So if you want to check out Jelby, she's jelby.etsy.com. Felted stitch markers. You can see the little sheepies there. She also makes earrings, and she also does beaded stitch markers with like one of these kind of as like the start of the round kind of thing. I wanted all the felted sheepies, so I got all the felted sheepies. Of course, then I stood up for like 10 minutes deciding what colors I wanted, but the yellow won me over, and so that's what I got. Ta-da! And so I'm very excited about those little guys right there. And let's see, the other person who was nearby, who I hung out with a little bit, was Jeanette of Sun Valley Fibers. And I had gone in wanting some DK kind of natural color for the campside shawl, because there's this, I have a like one of those pashmina scarf things that's about this color that I wear all the time because it matches practically everything, and I thought, you know, I kind of want a shawl this color so I can wear it, and instead of wearing this I mean, I love the, I don't know if it's a pashmina, but it's one of those kind of like silky, drapey scarf things. But I wanted something warm and cozy that I could wear. So I went to Jeanette of Sun Valley Fibers, who of course, again, had the perfect yarn from my project. And I got some antler in her BFL DK. I got 3. Because I looked up the yardage on my phone as I was standing there. I was like, let me make sure I have enough. So, because the last project I bought for at her booth, I was 1 skein short. So thank you, Jeanette, for sending me that extra skein. But now I needed 3. So I got 3, and if I have extras, great. Pan, you really can't be on the table. Okay, sorry. I have a setup over here, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and the cat was getting into it. So, cat is now not into it. Well, he's probably still into it, but, you know, he's not on it, on the table. So that's what I got from Jeanette, and as I was standing in her booth, I was like, I really wish I had worn my tea leaves cardigan out of her worsted that I had gotten yarn for at Stitches. So when my husband picked me up from the train, because we went food shopping right afterward, I was like, can you please bring me my sweater? I'm so cold. So he brought me my sweater and I wore it food shopping. Of course, I was still frozen like a popsicle, but that's okay. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I came home and I sat by the fire with my sweater on, and it's so cold. That's okay, I survived. So, Jeanette. Okay, so I got to hang out with her. She was very nice, as always. And the other person I hung out with a lot was Java Jenny, who is Kitchen Counter Crafter. Ta-da! That's her little thing there, which I love her little logo. And I got me some Star Trek bags. Yay! With some chevrons inside. And she gave me some little tags that say hand knit by. They're all pretty colors. Yeah, they're all different. Ta-da! So, I'm very excited about those. And, so yay, now I have 2 Star Trek bags. Very excited. And then it has this, like, bright red polka dot drawstring. And a handle. And a jump ring. So, I'm very excited about all these features. It's nice. It's a pretty big, I mean, it's a sock-sized bag, but it's pretty big. So, I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's probably, yeah, it's about the same size as my Fat Score bag. It's actually a little bigger. So, thank you, Java Jenny. She came over and said hi. She's like, hi, I watch your podcast. I was like, you watch my podcast? That was really exciting. So, hi, Java Jenny. She said she was a tad bit behind. She hadn't seen the one all about project bags, because I had told her about my other Star Trek project bag. So we had a fun conversation about Star Trek. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, what else did I get? So yes, I got to hang out with her a lot, which was fun. And yes, okay, next. Let's just keep this moving or I'll never finish. I also went to say hi to Megan of the Cyborgs Craft Room, and I got some of her Apacolypse in Distressed. It's the colorway. And these are going to be for some socks for a friend of mine. My best friend who's been ordering socks from me that I've been, like the brown ones and the blue ones. He said another of his friends wants a pair of socks. So these are going to be for him. So he wanted something that was manly, but we could go a little wild. So I went for this. So I was like, these are still manly colors, but it's definitely variegated, so it's interesting. So we'll see. So thank you, Megan, for having the perfect yarn for Michael's socks. All right, my tower is falling over. Okay, what else did I get? I went to Sophie's Toes, and I got some Emily's Garden in her, it's 100% superwash sock, and love these colors. So these are going to be socks for my grandmother. I was looking around and saying, what could I get? What could I get for her? And I saw this and I was like, yep, that's it. And it was funny because she was knitting on something in this exact colorway, and then she had a sample behind her in the same colorway. And so, yep, that's it. So these are going to be for my grandmother. And yes, so grandparent socks will be on the needles next. So those will get done by the time my parents come. And, oh, that's a very nice pyramid I've created over here. And the last yarny purchase, actually the last purchase I think I have in here at all, is I stopped by, I'll take this out of the crinkly bag. I stopped by Knit Circus, who was definitely on my list, and I got some of her new self-striping gradients, and this is the Race to the Cookie Jar, probably say it better here, Race to the Cookie Jar colorway, and this is her Greatest of Ease base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and I am super excited about these. So I've been wanting a set of her self-striping sock, but they're pretty expensive, and these I found in the sale bin. So I don't know if there's like some funky striping that's going on in here. I don't really care. I'm just happy to have them. So I'll probably switch the colors and do the blue as the toe and the yellow as the top. But I'm very excited. I wore my other gradient socks that I got from her at Vogue Knitting, not this last year because she wasn't there this last year, the year before. And so she was very excited to see those. And I wore my Magrathea shawl, and they went with it. I was like, I need some socks that go with my Magrathea shawl, and they fit the bill. So I got to show off my socks to Jala, and who is the wonderful dyer behind Knit Circus, and get some sock yarn. So I'm very, very excited about those. Oh, they don't fit in the tower. It's okay, I'll put them on the table. The tower is made of skeins, so having them in cakes. And they're already wound for 2 at a time socks, which, you know, is kind of a thing. So, woo! I'm excited about that. And that is it for my bag. Yes. That's it for my bag. I have some other random things in the bottom here. That's just things that fell off. So I got this as the first YarnCon I went to. It's a hello, my name is, and then Pearl of the Pacific Ravelry. So people know what your Ravelry name is. So I wore this so people knew who I was. And then I'll show you my bag. Flip this over. Oh. This is the bag I got at Vogue. And I had my YarnCon badge. I don't know if you can see that because of the glare. There you go. And, ooh, I'm missing. Oh, I know which one fell off. But I had my Leading Men Fiber Arts badge and my Dramatic Knits badge, because Leading Men Fiber Arts does the Dramatic Knits podcast. And then I had my gel bead thing there, and I got some noodle makers because it had a TARDIS on it, and then it said, I have patience because I knit. And I had my Highland Handmaids one here, and then Prairie Girls Knit and Spin. So I decided to bling out my bag because I have all these buttons that I get from different fiber events or orders or whatever, and I never use them. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put them all over my bag. I have more that I didn't put on my bag, but I was like, I don't want to look like the crazy button lady. I already did kind of look like a crazy button lady. I'm sure the people on the train were like, okay, lady, you have a big bag that says knit in pink and it's got buttons on it. You're a little crazy. I really didn't care. That was the cat snoring, kind of. Anyway, so all my stuff in my bag, plus my coat and my stuff and snacks and everything. So that was a perfect bag to take with me. So that was from the Mainland YarnCon haul / recap gloriousness. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Up next we have Flora and Fauna. Someone asked a question on the Ravelry thread, do you have any questions for me thread? I forget what the exact name of it is. Anyway, it's clearly labeled Ask Me Stuff in this thread, or something to that extent. And he was wondering, he said, I love to knit socks. My understanding is that socks are more durable if you use smaller needles. Is this correct? So if a pattern calls for size 1, how do I convert that to a 0? Also, will this drastically change the yardage? Socks are more durable if you knit them denser, but you don't want to knit them too dense because then they won't be stretchy and that won't be comfortable. Which we're all about comfort and when it comes to socks, right? And, I mean, that's why we knit socks. Why would you knit socks if you didn't care about comfort? Kind of my thing. Anyway, next. So yes, it is correct that if you use smaller needles, you will get a denser fabric, which will give you more durability. I think I talked about when I knit one pair of my husband's socks, I knit I think this is one of the very few pairs I've done top down because it was impossible to reverse the pattern. And when I did the heel turn in the bottom of the heel, which is where he tends to wear his socks out, I went down a needle size, just for the bottom of the foot. So I had the top of the foot on one size and the bottom of the foot on another size. And it turned out all right. Sometimes people do, you have to be careful about doing that for a long time just because your row gauge will shrink, so the bottom of the sock will be shorter than the top of the sock. But I did it just for like the heel turn, and then I think like there was a gusset, so I did the gusset decreases and then switched back to ones, so then it kind of evened out the row gauge. So that worked, and he has not worn through the heel in those socks, which is good. I have converted patterns I know most socks call for size 1, and I have done some in size 0, depending on the thickness of the yarn. You know, things can be labeled as a fingering, and they can be anything from a light fingering to an almost sport weight. And for the almost sport weights, it makes sense. Like Knit Picks Stroll, for example, that's a heavier fingering yarn, and so I tend to knit that on a size 1. For finer gauge yarns, even if they're labeled as a fingering, I will knit them on size 0, just because I want the fabric to be a little denser. One of these socks I am knitting on size 0. I think it's the Come Along Pond socks. It is kind of it says it's a 4-ply, but it looks kind of loosely plied. I don't know if you can see that. And so I am knitting these on size 0 because I want them to be a little tighter gauge. And I didn't find that I needed to change the pattern. It won't drastically change your gauge, but it will change it a little bit. And also, you know, your gauge is different from everyone else's anyway, so it's always good to measure your gauge anyway, even with socks. Sometimes I measure it by sticking it on my foot and saying, oh, that's too big, decrease a few, and then keep going. I know that's super lazy, but it is the way it is. I don't have kind of a standard, it's interesting, I don't have a standard stitch count for socks. It depends on the pattern. I used to think like 64 was good, and then there's some socks I have to knit 68, and then like the Where's Wenda socks, I'm down to 60. And those are all, like, they're all fingering. It's just the way it is. And my feet haven't changed. It's just the gauge that I get with different yarns and different patterns. For instance, like with a cable-y pattern, it will pull it in, so you may want more stitches. If you have more of a lacy pattern, it may be a little looser, and so you may want less stitches. It kind of depends on the pattern, and so I often will knit the toe and then it'll, like, I don't know, half an inch up and try it on and see how it feels. And if it's feeling tight, I'll increase a little bit more. If it's feeling good, then I'll leave it. If it's feeling a little loose, then I'll decrease a little bit at that point. And I don't generally rip it out, if even that half inch. Maybe because I'm lazy and doing 2 at a time socks and trying to rip them out is a pain in the butt. But that's kind of how I measure it. It won't change your yardage drastically either. It'll change it a little bit because you'll have more rows per inch, which means that you'll be eating up yarn faster if you use less yarn. He asked because he's a guy and he knits guy socks, and guys' feet tend to be a bit larger. And with guy socks, because I do knit a fair bit of guy socks, and you do have to go for the fingering weight yarns with a little more yardage in the skein. With my husband's socks, I've never run out. I have used up pretty much the entire skein. And he wears a 10, 10 and a half, somewhere around there. And he likes his socks fairly tall. So I'm not knitting him like ankle socks, and I don't have problems running out of yarn. For my best friend who has, God, his feet are like 11 and a half or something. He's got huge feet. There's one time that I ran out of yarn, and I just used a contrasting color for the cuff. I showed those on the podcast. Sorry, I was just trying to see what's going on outside. And they were green, and I used black for the cuff, and he didn't care. But I did make them very tall, just because the guys I know like their socks tall. That's the way it is. I like my socks really tall too, but I've got smaller feet, so I have like always a ton of yarn left over. So I hope that answers your question about socks and gauge and various things like that. If you have any more questions, or if anyone else has other questions, either related to socks or anything else, put them in the thread in Ravelry, and I'll be happy to answer them. Speaking of socks and questions, the setup that I was talking about that I have over here is I'm going to record the tutorials for my sock pattern that is going to come out very soon. I didn't really have a weekend at home because of YarnCon and then my meeting on Sunday, meeting in choir on Sunday. But today is a Baha'i holy day, so I happen to have the day off, which is fantastic. Best day to do laundry because no one else has it off, except for the other people that work at my place, but they don't live here, so everyone who lives here, it's all, like the parking lot in the back is all empty, and so I'm doing laundry and stuff around the house, and that's why I'm like, oh, I have time, I can record the podcast. And then in a little bit, I'm going to record the tutorials that will go along with my sock pattern. And that will be coming out very, very soon. I know someone asked about that too, and I was like, it's soon, I promise, as soon as I have time at home to finish it. The actual pattern writing is pretty much done. The formatting is mostly done. But the tutorials were the thing that were going to be the most time consuming, and I had to do them like in a specific place, so those are going to get done today, and then we'll figure out how they work with the pattern. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but I tried to link to other tutorials, and there were some things that I would have to kind of explain in addition to the tutorial, like for the cast on. You know, it's different for 2 at a time socks than it is for 1 at a time socks. So I thought, you know what, I'll just do it for 2 at a time socks, and it will go with the pattern. And yeah, so I think I have talked a lot. These are some really long episodes lately. I'm sorry if you don't like long episodes, and if you do like long episodes, you're welcome. I normally don't talk this much, but I had a lot of things to show because of YarnCon and casting on my parade of socks. So, with that, I will leave you for the week, and I will be back to my normal schedule this coming week, and then I think the week after that I think I'll still be able to record on Sunday. So have a great week, everyone. I hope you enjoy some spring weather and knitting outside. It's a little too cold for that this week, but I can pretend by knitting by the window. I don't generally knit at home, I find, because when I'm home I like to do other things. No, actually I don't like to do other things. I have to do other things like chores. So most of my knitting gets done out of the house, which is kind of odd, I discovered. But like if we'll watch a movie, then I'll knit at home, but I usually don't just sit and knit very often. I've been working a lot on my patterns, so that's been kind of my sit and do stuff at home time. Anyway, I've tried to say goodbye like 3 times now, so I'm really going to say goodbye. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye!